The storm has been building for hours. You saw it coming across the valley. A wall of grey that swallowed the mountains one by one. And you knew that you would need shelter before it arrived. Now it is here, surrounding the small cabin where you have found refuge, turning the world outside into a place of noise and cold that cannot be entered. The cabin is old, built by hands that understood winter, with walls thick enough to hold the heat, and a stove that burns with a persistence that seems almost alive. You found the key under the mat, as the note promised, and the door opened into warmth that wrapped around you like a blanket. Someone had left waiting. The wind outside has become a voice, speaking in a language that needs no translation. It wants in. It has always wanted in, since the beginning of storms. And this cabin has always refused. The walls do not shake. The roof does not lift. The windows show only white, as if the world has been erased and replaced with something that moves and howls without meaning. You do not need to understand the storm. The cabin understands it for you, has understood it for decades, and continues to stand in the same place. It has always stood, offering the same protection. It has always offered to anyone who reaches the door, before the snow makes reaching impossible. The stove in the corner burns with a warmth that you feel in your chest before you feel it on your skin. It is wood burning, fed by logs that were cut and stacked in the autumn, and it gives off a heat that has weight, that occupies space in the room, like another presence, another body that does not move, but breathes through its flames. You sit in the chair that faces the stove, and you feel the cold that was in your bones beginning to leave, slowly, reluctantly, as if it had planned to stay longer, and is surprised to find itself unwelcome. Your fingers tingle. Your toes begin to ache with the return of feeling. This is the price of warmth, and you pay it gladly. The walls are made of logs that were cut from the forest. You can no longer see, stacked and chinked with mortar that has dried to the color of the wood itself. In places, you can see the marks of the tools that shaped them, small irregularities that speak of hands rather than machines, of a time when building meant gathering what the land offered and fitting it together until it stood against the weather. The chinking between the logs has cracked in places, small lines that run vertically, where the settling of the structure has tested the flexibility of the material. But the cracks do not leak. The wind does not enter. Whatever the builder used, whatever mixture of clay and straw and lime, it has held for decades and continues to hold, keeping the inside separate from the outside, the warm separate from the cold, the silence separate from the storm. You place your hand against the wall, nearest to your chair, and you feel the texture of the wood. Rough in places, smooth in others, where the oils of countless hands have polished it over years. The wall is cool to the touch, but not cold, as if it has absorbed some of the stove's warmth and holds it in reserve. A second layer of protection, beyond what the fire alone can offer. The logs settle occasionally. Small sounds that might be mistaken for footsteps, if you did not know that you are alone. They are the sounds of contraction and expansion, of wood responding to heat and cold, in the way that wood always has, the way that wood always will, long after you have left this cabin, and the storm has passed, and the next traveler places their hand in the same spot, and feels the same texture, and hears the same settling. This is the continuity of shelter, the passing of safety from one to another, the cabin's gift to all who find its door, before the snow makes reaching impossible. The stove stands in the corner, a cast iron box, on legs that raise it from the floor, connected to a pipe that disappears into the stone chimney and carries the smoke away. Its surface is black, except where the heat has burned the color lighter, creating patterns that map the years of its burning. You watch the flames through the small door, orange and yellow, that dance without moving from their places, consuming the logs, in a process that has no urgency, no need to finish quickly, only the steady transformation of wood into heat, of matter into comfort. The wood box beside it holds enough for the night. Split pieces stacked with the care of someone who knew that order matters. When the cold is waiting, you could add a log, if you wished, could open the door and feel the rush of heat that would escape, and the new log would catch, and the flames would rise, and the room would warm further. But you do not add wood. The stove burns as it burns, sufficient as it is, and you are not cold anymore, not cold enough to need more than what it offers. You simply watch, simply feel, simply let the warmth do what warmth does. Without your help, the pipe that carries the smoke heats as the stove heats, and you can hear the small sounds of expansion, metal growing slightly larger as the fire continues. These are the sounds of something working, of a system that requires no attention, but rewards it anyway, with heat, with light, with the small movements that prove it is alive. The stove will burn until the logs are ash, until the heat fades, and the metal contracts, and the room begins to lose what it has gained. But that is hours away. That is morning away. That is a problem. For someone who is not you. For someone who will arrive. With more wood. And more matches. And more need. For what the stove provides. For now. It burns. And you rest. And the storm outside cannot touch either of you. The window is small, set deep in the thickness of the wall, as if the builder understood that glass is a weakness that must be protected. It shows the storm, not as a scene, but as a condition, a state of being that has replaced the world you walked through to reach this door. The glass itself is cold, so cold that condensation forms on the inside, small droplets that run down and pool on the sill before freezing there in shapes that will last until morning brings warmth enough to release them. You do not touch the glass. You know what it would feel like. Know that the cold would bite, and the storm would seem closer, and the distance between you and the world outside would feel smaller than you want it to feel. The snow sticks to the outside, building in the corners where the wind has driven it, creating patterns that change as you watch, that erase themselves and reform in the same motion that makes the storm seem alive. You cannot see the mountains anymore, cannot see the valley, or the path, or the place where you started. There is only white, only movement, only the sound that presses against the glass without entering. The window is a frame for something that cannot be framed, a boundary that the storm respects without understanding why, as if the cabin has made an agreement with the weather long before you arrived, an agreement that holds that the inside belongs to those who shelter, and the outside belongs to the storm, and never the two shall meet. You are grateful for this window, for the proof it offers that the storm continues, that your safety is not imagined, but real, earned by the walls, and the stove, and the logs that burn while you watch the snow that cannot reach you. The night has settled in the way that nights do, in places without electricity, without the artificial sun of street lamps and neon signs, and the glow that cities use to pretend that darkness can be defeated. Here, the darkness is complete, is absolute, is a presence that occupies the corners of the room, not as threat, but as comfort, as the necessary condition for the warmth to be felt, for the fire to be seen, for the shelter to be known as shelter. You do not light a candle. Do not need to. The stove provides sufficient glow, sufficient definition to the objects that share the space with you. The chair, the table, the bed in the corner that you will reach when sleep becomes inevitable. The darkness holds these shapes without revealing them completely, keeps them in the soft uncertainty that allows the mind to rest, to stop its constant naming and categorizing, and simply let things be as they are, present, without requiring attention. The storm has become part of this darkness, has been absorbed into it, so that the sound of wind and the absence of light are no longer separate, but one condition, one environment, one world that exists only to make the cabin more itself, more shelter, more the place you needed without knowing you needed it. The night will pass. This is certain, though it does not feel certain, though it feels as if the darkness has always been and will always be, as if morning is a story told by those who have never sat in this chair before this stove while the storm rages and the walls stand and the warmth holds everything that needs to be held. You are not afraid of this darkness. It does not threaten. It does not demand. It simply is, as the cabin simply is, as the storm simply is, as you simply are, all of you, together, in this space that the night has made sacred by its presence, by its completeness, by its absolute refusal to be anything other than what it is. The bed stands in the corner, a frame of wood that matches the walls, holding a mattress that has been used by travelers you will never meet, who found this cabin as you have found it, who needed shelter as you have needed it, who slept as you will sleep. The blankets are wool, heavy with the weight of their weaving, smelling of storage and of the bodies that have warmed them before you. You do not need to turn them down to know that they will be warm, that they will accept your coldness without complaint, that they will hold the heat that your body makes and return it to you through the night. The pillow is soft, filled with feathers that have compressed over years into a shape that fits no head perfectly, but accommodates every head adequately, that offer support without demanding gratitude, that simply is, as the bed simply is, as the cabin simply is, available to those who need what they provide. You will go to this bed when the chair has held you long enough, when the stove has warmed you thoroughly, when the storm has become so familiar that you no longer hear it as separate from the silence it interrupts. But you do not go yet. The chair is sufficient. The moment is sufficient. And the bed will wait, has waited, for travelers before you, will wait for travelers after you. Its blankets ready, its pillow patient, its wooden frame steady against the wall that keeps out the storm that rages without purpose, without end, without the power to touch you. Here in this warmth, in this shelter, in this night, that will pass, as all nights pass, leaving you rested and ready for the morning that waits beyond the storm. The bed does not hurry you. It has learned that travelers come when they are ready, that sleep arrives, not by force, but by invitation, that the warmth of the cabin must be felt completely before the warmth of the blankets can be accepted. It will be here. It is always here. For you. For the next. For all who need what it offers. Freely. Without condition. Without end. Your eyes have closed. Or they have not. And the room has simply become something you no longer need to see, to know. The stove continues to burn, though you do not watch it. The walls continue to stand, though you do not touch them. The storm continues to rage, though you do not hear it as anything other than The sound of your own breathing, slowed and slowed and slowed until it matches the rhythm of the logs settling in the walls of the flames, consuming the wood of the world, turning outside without you. You are not asleep, and you are not awake. You are in the place between where the body releases its hold on the day and the mind drifts without direction, without purpose, without the need to arrive anywhere. The cabin holds you in this place as it holds everything that enters it, with patience, with warmth, with the absolute certainty that shelter is not temporary, but eternal, not conditional, but absolute, not earned, but given freely to all who find the door before the snow makes reaching impossible. You will remember this, or you will not. Will wake to morning light through the small window, to the silence of a storm that has passed, to the cold that waits outside the door that you must open to continue your journey, or you will not wake to any of this, will sleep deeper than morning can reach, carried by the warmth and the walls and the night, into rest that does not end with dawn, but continues in the way that rest always continues, renewing what the day has depleted, preparing what the day will require. The cabin does not mind. The stove does not mind. The storm does not mind. They continue, as they have continued, will continue after you have gone. Their purposes separate from yours, but serving you while you are here, while you sleep, while you rest, in the warmth of a shelter you found without seeking, that found you without calling, that holds you now and will hold you until morning comes, as mornings always come. The morning will come, and you will wake, or you will wake, and it will be morning. The distinction no longer mattering, as it once mattered, as it will matter again, when you are outside, and the cold requires attention, and the path requires decision, and the world returns with all its urgencies. But that is later. That is after. That is a place you do not need to reach yet, that the cabin will release you to when the time is right, when the storm has passed, when the snow has settled into something that can be walked on, that can be left behind. For now, there is only this warmth, this darkness, this breathing that has become so slow, so deep, so completely, without effort, that you are not sure if it is yours, or the cabin's, or the storm's, or the night's, or if there is any difference between these things. If you have become what you sought, or if what you sought has become you. The logs in the stove have burned to embers, red and glowing, without flame, sufficient still for warmth, for light, for the continuation of what needs to continue. You could add more wood, could build the fire back to what it was, but you do not. Let it fade. As you fade, let it settle. As you settle, let it become what it will become. Without your help, the storm continues, or it does not. You cannot tell. From here, from this place, where sound and silence have merged into something that requires no name, that simply is, as you simply are, as the cabin simply is, as the night simply is, holding all of you together in the warmth that does not end, but only changes, that does not leave, but only transforms into morning, into day, into the next night, and the next, eternal, as shelter is eternal, as rest is eternal, as the need for both continues through every storm that ever was, that ever will be. Sleep now. The cabin keeps watch. The embers keep warm. And everything that needs to continue already is.